Hi everyone, today we have a new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to talk about fresh release from ICM, and it is molded in 1/32 scale. So here we get relatively new plastic, which comes in this large format and copies German attack aircraft from World War II. It's a biplane, but it's a Henschel 123A-1 version. So the kit number is 32015, and it means that what I have here on the table, that's the final shape of this release, and you should be able to get the same thing from Modelimex. For example, they should have it already available, and you can notice that the box format is rather typical for such type of release from ICM. So here is comparison with my hand. We have quite nice box art here. The aircraft is depicted in a winter camouflage, and here on the side you can see also some information about the kit. So it's written that we have 201 parts, and the wingspan will be 330 millimeters. Length should be 272 millimeters, so it should be relatively reasonable size for 1/32 scale aircraft. And here you can see also some of the marking options. There are 4 of them, but who knows, maybe there will be more once we open and check the assembly manual. But first I need to cut through the seals in order to understand how to remove this box. And also I can remind you that I reviewed the previous version of this aircraft, so in case you are interested, you can find it on the same YouTube channel. It was a really interesting edition dedicated to the Legion Condor. So in case you would like to depict those specific versions, you know where to find them. So the box structure is already classic for ICM, so just give me a second to open it quickly. And it's a bit of a tight fitment, that's why it's not that fast. As you can see, it's flexible top cover, that's why it takes a bit of time. But then inside you get this sturdy white cardboard box, and all parts are actually sealed into one plastic bag, but it's a resealable plastic bag, so that's why it should be quick and easy to open. So just give me a moment again. And there we have all of the necessary parts. I do not see anything broken off, so it should be pretty much alright. And there was pretty much enough of the space inside, so I don't think anything will arrive damaged to you. And here I just need to open the lenses a bit, zoom in, and you will see the first portion of the parts. Maybe we can open the lenses even more. So these are 2 fuselage halves, and as you can see, both are molded together with a tail fin. The cowling is molded separately, but at least we have this one piece top section of the fuselage. I was saying that it's a good feature in the previous review, and I will say again, because this is actually quite important in 1/32 scale. You won't have any gaps or seams in the middle, and I think this is something what should be done in any aircraft kit. As long as it repeats the panel lines, I think it's very useful thing. And as for the external features, you can notice that we have recessed panel lines, but they're not too deep, so try not to overdo the primer layers and the paint layers, because you might end up with the lost details, and this is definitely not something what we are aiming for. Inside, the details are quite modest, because all of the additional parts, they will be installed separately. And we have the guiding pins. We also have the fuel tank, which should be assembled out of 2 halves. I guess it's a fuel tank, right? So if you know more than me, write in the comment section below, of course. Next, we continue with the sprue C. So this is the bottom wing, and as you can see here, we have the I would say classic design, which is assembled out of 3 panels. So 1 bottom, 2 top, and also here we have nice slots for the wing struts. So it will help you with overall alignment. And if I flip over this plastic sprue, as you can see, we have also the guiding pins inside. So it's also a handy thing, and it will definitely be useful while you joining those 2 large parts together, actually 3. So next, I was just looking at this sprue to see what has changed here, but I do not see that much of the difference. And as you can see here, we have the wing mechanization, so it means those ailerons, which should be assembled out of 2 halves each. Then we have the elevators, again the same story, 2 halves for each part. And the rudder is also assembled out of 2 halves. And also here we have the wing slats, which are also molded separately. So quite a smart design. I guess in 1/32 scale that's what they had to do, because otherwise you cannot replicate the, let's say, thickness of the elements of the mechanization parts. So that's why it is done this way. But next we continue with 2 plastic sprues. So as you can see, we have here the landing gear, and the landing gear here comes with the fairing. So the landing gear wheel should be glued out of 2 holes, and the fairing should be glued out of 2 holes as well. And this is rather straightforward design. So if I flip over, here as you can see we have the raised edge, which will help you with the position, and here we have the guiding pins, which will also come handy. Also here you can see the landing gear leg, so I guess it's worth zooming in so that you can take a closer look at those parts. And as for the wheel, I think it looks good. Of course there will be aftermarket made out of resin, which will offer you more features, but it will cost some extra money, so that's already a question to you, whether you would like to spend extra money on your build or you are fine with what is supplied from ICM. And I think it's quite generous feature set, so it would be really surprising if somebody will be spending extra money, but maybe they would like to have more and they don't want to stop. So here we continue with the wing struts. We also have some landing gear parts, also exhaust stacks for the engine, some cockpit elements, and all of this stuff is actually not that big. You can notice it here in comparison with my fingertips. So do not underestimate this kit. Even though 1/32 scale is mentioned here, it still might require some precise work and precise alignment of the parts. So you might work even with the tweezers. And well, I would recommend to get the special tools because it will speed up your work process considerably, and it also make it a bit more enjoyable as well. So next we continue with one of the biggest plastic sprues actually here. So as you can see here, we get the engine parts, we also get the cooling panels here, and also these are the tail wing house. And well, the engine is quite generously detailed here, so if I zoom in you can see what I'm talking about here. And this is something what is supplied in the standard package. It can be exposed if you choose not to install the cooling panels. And here, by the way, you can see also some of the cockpit parts. So in my opinion, ICM did a really great work here. They decided not to skip the feature and just give you some placeholder. They give you the proper engine with all of the main features, which will be noticeable even on the finished model with the closed coding. So that's why I appreciate such approach, because we all know that the placeholders, just molded walls or bulkheads, they do not work even on the smallest scales, and yet some brands still try to push it in order to sell some additional accessories. This is not approach which I would personally support. Next we continue here with the wing parts. So this is the top wing, which should be assembled out of 2 hulls. We also have the separate ailerons, as you remember, and here on the opposite side you can see also the guiding pins, which will help you with alignment. This is not a difficult task, but well, the biplane structure, the design itself is usually a bit tricky, especially for beginners. For example, even me, I do not have that much of the experience with the biplanes, so I guess it will take some time. So do not overestimate your skills for sure, because you might end up with very unpleasant surprises as well. And that's not due to the plastic, that's because you lack the necessary skills. So here we continue with another sprue which was packed separately. Here we get the clear plastic parts, and this is the windscreen, which looks rather nice. And next we have the decals sheet, which should be hidden in the assembly manual. It's not that big for a 1/32 scale, to be honest. So I will place it like this, close the lenses a bit and zoom out. So now you can see all of the symbols. As you remember, we have 4 marking options. So here we don't have anything unusual, I would say. Of course, the seat belts, well, ICM usually does not include them. We have the decals for the instrument panel, but we do not get the seat belts. But at least we get the swastika, and also we get some stencils. So this is also a handy thing in 1/32 scale. And next we have the assembly manual. So I will close the lenses even more because it's printed on white paper and you might be blinded. So here you can see the short history note and also technical specifications. We have the paint numbers given in ICM designations because they release their own paint sets, and that's something I recommend to check because they are quite handy in case you need all of the paints at once. You don't want to search for them. Here you can see the parts map. Red color means that these parts will not be used, and as you can see there are quite a few of them. Here we continue with we actually start with the cockpit. Note that there is also some drilling needed, so pay attention to these instructions because later you won't be able to install some parts due to that. And then we join the fuselage halves together. We install the instrument panel onto this top cooling panel, and there are also some additional parts to be installed, but this is quite straightforward design in my opinion, especially considering the fact that these panels are actually repeating the panel lines, and that's why it should look natural as long as you check the gaps and the fitment overall. Here you can see the engine assembly, so also quite straightforward process. We have the separate cooling panels as well, and next we have the tail surfaces. Here you can see the wing struts, the wing assembly, the wing mechanization, landing gear, and as far as you can see the landing gear can be assembled in two ways, with the fairings or without them, but the installation will be pretty much the same. And next we continue here with more parts being installed on the lower wing. We also assemble the propeller, we assemble the canopy, and what is next here? So we have some armament bombs, and here we even have the masks template, which is handy. There is not much rigging to be done. I think it's only antenna here in between the tail surface and the cockpit. Here you can see the first marking option from spring 1940, and then we continue with the second marking option from 1941. This one is from 1942. I think it was on the box art, if I'm not wrong. And here we have another one from 1944 even, which is quite surprising to be honest. But overall it looks like a really decent release. I think it goes on par with the previous Legion Condor kit, and it should be already available, so you can get it in Modelimex as I said before. Of course I will be happy to hear your opinion, so write here in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.